So today, the Virginia Supreme Court ruled that the referendum that I voted for and the majority of Virginians voted for to change our maps in a response to the unprecedented attack and push on the democratic system by Donald Trump in asking Republican states to redistrict because he knows how unpopular he is and he wants to rig the vote, as he has always tried to do, going back when he tried to steal the election in 2020. This should be a lesson to Democrats nationwide, from top to bottom, from the top future presidential candidates to the very bottom school council board members, city council members, and everything in between. That as Democrats, we can no longer play patty cake with these people, with these Republicans. They are ruthless. They care nothing about norms. They care nothing about fairness. They care nothing about decency. They only care about power. And unfortunately, we have to do the same, because that's the only way to change and bring back the Overton window to some sense of fairness and decency. In Virginia, all of a sudden, where I live, the Republicans suddenly care about nonpartisan redistricting and fairness and changing, being represented, but they don't give a damn about what Donald Trump is doing nationwide. And they say this blatantly when you talk to them. Well, I don't care what other states are doing. And they also say, well, Virginia's a 50-50 state. Virginia's not a 50-50 state. Virginia's a Democratic state. But they say these things. They don't care about anything. They don't care about fairness. They will say whatever they need to do to advantage themselves. This is evident by them voting for Donald Trump, who says one thing 1 minute to the next, and they follow along lockstep and sinker. Every Democratic state needs to immediately begin to undo their nonpartisan voting commissions in preparation for 2028, if it advantages in that year. Again, we have to think strategically, and for the census, because Republican states, thanks to an assist from the Supreme Court getting rid of the Voting Rights Act, have begun to zero out Democratic districts in some of these states. And the only way to bring Republicans to the table on being opposed to nonpartisan gerrymandering, which they're not, because they repeatedly vote against it when it comes up for a vote nationally, is to put them at a disadvantage. And that may be in the future in some of our biggest Democratic states. You try our best to zero out Republicans completely, or reduce them to as low as possibly can in the House count. Because once they become at a disadvantage, then suddenly they'll find their morals, and suddenly they'll switch to be for nonpartisan redistricting. We have been stupid in so many ways as Democrats by tying our hands behind our back. It makes me sick. We have been so short-sighted as a Democratic Party in terms of our voters who don't get their way, not willing to vote for the Democratic nominee. And this goes both the left and the right. If we get a non-crazy, progressive, really progressive left candidate who wins the nomination, we have to support them, because 99% they're going to be better than a Republican, and 100% they're going to be better than a MAGA Republican. If we get a centrist Democrat who's not 100% on all these issues, we have to support them. The Supreme Court of the United States is a 6-3 conservative majority, precisely because Democrats could not stick together and push Hillary Clinton over the finish line when she won that vote. Whether you like her or didn't like her, she won the primary by millions of votes. There's nothing the DNC or anything else would have done that would change her winning the primary vote by millions of votes. So we have to stick together as Democrats. We can argue, but we need to always say at the end of the day, 99% of the time, a Democrat is going to be better than a Republican, and 100% going to be better than a MAGA Republican. Because MAGA Republicans have no morality, they have no principles, they have no sense of truth, fact, or they don't care about reason. MAGA Republicans worship money, power, cruelty, and they cover it up. Tax cuts for the rich with money, and they cover it up with a shade of, oh, we're Christians. We only care about Christian values. Meanwhile, they vote for people convicted of sexual assault. They vote for people who are rumored pedophiles, as in Roy Moore in Alabama. And they voted for a pedophile who abused his daughter. And they knew this beforehand. They didn't know it was his daughter, but they knew it was beforehand. In some kind of city council or something, Republicans voted for this person. So we know they have no principles. they'll vote whoever advantages their pursuit of power, theocracy, hate, and money. And they'll Christian signal and cover it behind that. And when you try to push back, I'm getting off on a tangent, they'll cry persecution and play victim. And it's time for Democrats not to care about that. We need to push forward as hard as we can in 2026. When we get the House, in 2027, when we take control of the House, no matter how big or small our majority is, we need to thank Donald Trump by exposing the truth of all this corruption, make him and the Republican parties at whole as unpopular and disgraced as humanly possible. We need to drag J.D. Vance's name down. We need to drag Marco Rubio's name down. We need to drag all these Republicans down and do reputational damage to their brand so they cannot win in 2028, and that we can control the House and hopefully the Senate and make some structural changes to this country. We need to be ruthless. We need to be bold. Push the limits of our power. Make Puerto Rico a state. Try to make DC a state. Let the chips fall where they may. But we need to push as hard as we can, because if we don't, the Republicans have no problem with zeroing out Democratic power completely. And they will do it if they get the chance. Now, we don't have to zero them out completely, but we need to make sure that they cannot ever try to do this. If they do, they realize that they'll be disadvantaged in the end. And like I said, being disadvantaged is the only thing that would change Republicans' minds about this redistricting battle. Because I promise you, once they're disadvantaged, they will all certainly be for nonpartisan gerrymandering. And hopefully Democratic President and Democratic Senate and Democratic House can sign that into law.